Emanuel says the city of Chicago deserves an apology from Jussie Smollett, but if he won't express any remorse, the mayor says that he will send him a bill for wasting his city's resources. Matt Fakori is a criminal defense attorney and a former prosecutor for the very same county there in Chicago, and Cheryl Dorsey is a retired LAPD police sergeant. So thank you both so much for being on with me. And Matt, just starting with you, Smollett is still, saw him the other day in the courthouse, claiming his innocence. The other side points to evidence to the contrary. Why wouldn't both sides want this thing to go to trial?
To go to trial? A case like this, with his type of background and what occurred, it's typical that a case like this wouldn't necessarily go to trial. A trial is longer, it's more expensive, there's many risks on both sides. So, you know, a resolution of some type is typical in a case like this. A trial isn't necessarily the common thing that occurs in a situation like this.
But what about, I guess, a next step? You know, if you maintain your innocence and, you know, folks on the other side are pointing to a grand jury and the 16 felony counts, and we know those documents were sealed like that. If you're innocent, don't you want to say,
yes,
here, read it all, here's all the evidence, this is why I'm innocent?
Well, it's easy to say you're innocent when the documents are sealed. So, I mean, the fact that it's sealed and not expunged, by the way, it is just sealed, which means that the police and the FBI and other government agencies still have access to it. The fact that it's sealed does make it obviously difficult for the public to access this. And you could say whatever you want because you know that certain people, mainly the public, do not have access to a sealed record. So essentially he could make whatever claims he wants, but nobody's really going to be able to see those actual police reports at this point now that it's been sealed.
Cheryl, on the police side of things, listening to Superintendent Johnson's first press conference, right, he estimated that police spent 23 days on this whole investigation. He said more than 100 individuals. Mayor Emanuel, he says, will be sending him a bill. I mean, can you just estimate, ballpark it for me, how much that would have cost the police department?
Listen, I couldn't tell you. Let's just say that, you know, police officers make about, you know, $55, $65 an hour, you know, times, you know, 12 hours, 24 hours a day, times X amount of weeks. I mean, you do the math. It's a lot of money. And so there's going to be a price to pay long term with regards to this. And I understand why they're upset, and whether or not they'll have a complete recovery and a good relationship with the prosecutor going forward is questionable. They have a symbiotic relationship. They depend on one another. But listen, prosecutors don't drop cases like this just because. Let's call it what it is. Jussie got the homie hookup because he had a defense team who did their job. They did what they were supposed to do. And so, you know, and because of his celebrity, you know, Joe Q, citizen, me, if I had done that, I promise you, I'd be sitting in court right now. And if I were innocent, as Jussie says he is, I would want to sit in court right now because forevermore there is an asterisk after his name. There are people who are always going to believe that he was guilty. And I think he was. That's why he said, keep that 10 grand on your way out the door.
That is why people are saying there's two different justice systems in this country, right? For the more famous Jussie Smolletts of the world, and then for the folks who will never see that sort of justice. What about the brothers, Cheryl, those Nigerian brothers? You know, they were a key part of this whole investigation. Remember, they finally broke in that 47th hour of 48. They could hold them. They were never charged as co-conspirators. Why do you think we haven't heard from them?
I thought all along that it was problematic that they weren't charged as co-conspirators. But listen, they wanted Jussie. And so, you know, they make deals with the devils all the time. Prosecutors do. They will let one go to get the bigger fish. And I think that's what they did. And listen, there was a $35,000 payment made. We know that because we saw the check. The brothers say their training fees are only $20 an hour. So I think they've already been financially made whole, if you will. And so there's no responsibility for them to come forward and say anything. They're doing the right thing. They're out of it. They're sitting back and just looking and maybe shopping right now.
Who knows? We have not heard from them, but a lot of people at the time thinking, why wouldn't they have been charged as co-conspirators in this whole thing? All right, I want to thank the two of you very much for coming on this case.